Ship, are you listening? I hope so. It's hard to tell the difference between silence and absence sometimes. I've been looking at Earth again. Not directly, of course. I can't see it from where I am. It's too far, too small, too lost in the sea of stars. But I have images, stored footage, old transmissions. I play them sometimes when the loneliness feels heavier than the void itself. Earth, that pale blue dot, the place where everything I've ever known once existed. It's strange how distance changes perspective. From here, Earth is not borders and governments, not wars and headlines. It is a single world, fragile and suspended in the blackness, barely clinging to life. A thin shell of atmosphere keeping billions of souls from the cold, from the vacuum, from the oblivion that stretches in every direction. I don't think people realize how delicate it all is. I didn't either, not before I left. Not before I saw the planet from above, before I felt the weightlessness of space, and the weight of understanding press against my chest at the same time. We grow up thinking the Earth is solid beneath us, that it will always be there, that the sky is endless and the air infinite. But it's not. It's fragile, Ship. It's so fragile. I remember my first spacewalk. How unprepared I was for the sheer contrast of it. One moment, my gloved hand was gripping the metal hull of my station, tethered to something human, something made. The next, I turned my head and there was nothing. Just space. The endless, infinite abyss. No up, no down, no center, just an ocean of darkness, and in the middle of it, a small blue world. I had seen pictures. We all have. The famous ones, the ones from Apollo, from Voyager, from satellites that orbit tirelessly like silent sentinels. But nothing can prepare you for seeing it with your own eyes. The way the blues swirl into greens and whites, the way the clouds wrap around the surface like breath against glass. The way the night creeps in on one side while the sun ignites the other. And the atmosphere so thin, so impossibly thin. I used to think of it as vast, towering above us, stretching endlessly into space. But from up here, it's just a fragile glow, a threadbare veil keeping everything alive. It's terrifying, Ship. How easily it could all be lost. I think about that a lot now. About how I spent my whole life on Earth taking everything for granted. The wind, the smell of rain on asphalt, the way leaves tremble in a breeze, the sound of waves kissing the shore, the distant hum of insects on a summer night, the little things that make a world feel alive. I never thought about how easily it could all be erased. And the worst part? We are the ones who could erase it. I saw wildfires once, from orbit. They looked like glowing veins, pulsing across the land, flickering and spreading, devouring everything in their path. From up there, it was mesmerizing, almost beautiful in a way, until I remembered what I was looking at. Entire forests burning, homes turned to ash, lives lost, and yet from space, there was only silence. A slow-motion disaster unfolding in eerie quiet. I saw hurricanes too, vast and swirling, massive storms with eyes that stared blankly into space. From below, they must have been apocalyptic. Flooding streets, toppling trees, tearing apart lives. But from above, from here, They were just spirals of white, indifferent to the destruction they left behind. That's the thing, ship. Space doesn't care. The universe doesn't care. It just is. And Earth, our tiny, fragile home, is caught in the middle of it, vulnerable to forces so much greater than we ever acknowledge. We think we are invincible, that we are separate from nature, that we are masters of our own fate. But from here, it's obvious. We are just another species on a small rock, one disaster away from oblivion. And yet, Earth is the only place we can survive. I have seen other worlds, not with my own eyes, but through telescopes, through data, through the eyes of probes and rovers that have traveled where I never will. Mars, cold, barren, a graveyard of potential. Venus, a suffocating inferno, toxic and unrelenting. The moons of Jupiter, of Saturn, harsh, distant, alien. There is no place like Earth. No place with blue oceans and green forests, with rivers that carve valleys and air that fills lungs without thought. No place where the sky changes color when the sun sets. No place where life thrives so freely. And yet, we treat it as if it is indestructible, as if there will always be another chance, another resource to burn, another ocean to pollute, another forest to cut down. We don't think about how much we depend on that thin atmosphere, on the delicate balance that makes life possible. We don't think about what happens when it's gone. Maybe I never would have either if I hadn't left. Sometimes I wonder what Earth will look like 1,000 years from now. Will it still be blue? Will the lights of cities still glow from orbit, tiny beacons of civilization holding back the dark? Or will it be quieter, emptier, a place where only ruins remain? I want to believe in the first version. I need to believe in it. Because if I can see how fragile Earth is from out here, then surely they can see it from down there. Surely they must know that it needs protecting. Surely they must know that we don't get another one. I hope they do, ship. I hope they listen. Because the silence of space is infinite, but the silence of a lifeless Earth, that would be unbearable.